Hey everyone, welcome back to the Promised Land podcast. Wherever you're watching this or wherever you are listening to this, I am on a different channel on YouTube live streaming. For those of you who are listening to this on audio afterwards, please indulge me. I hope you understand, but we have some breaking news as I record this. It's day 2 of the transfer window. And Manchester United look like they're on their way to making their second signing of the summer, and it is a second number 10. It is a second proven Premier League player. It's a second Premier League player who scored a fair few goals in the Premier League last season. Bryan Mbeumo has chosen Manchester United, an absolute. It's come out of nowhere, to be honest. I'm really quite surprised that it's happened now. Let's start with that. But it is. I think what I'm feeling coming out of this is that United's pull, and I know everybody loves to joke about it. Everybody loves to say that United's pull is unmatched. And look, we are talking about a player here that plays for Brentford and is looking at jumping up a level. Hasn't played in the Champions League before, and it's not one of the big names. It's not your Paul Pogba's of previous years or your Zlatan Ibrahimovic of previous years or like any players like that from massive clubs with massive reputations. But what this is Bryan Mbeumo, a really strong, smart, sensible signing who was wanted by other clubs in the Champions League. David Ornstein has broken the news. We knew that a lot of clubs were interested in him, but David Ornstein, who is a fantastic journalist, obviously one of the best in the world, very lovely man as well. I've met him a good few times, know him, I won't say quite well, but I do know him. It's a strong story. It's a really good. They make a signing a day at the moment. It's unbelievable. This Manchester United are going to talk to Brentford about Bryan Mbeumo now. So I'm going to get into that over the course of the podcast. And big thanks to everybody who's in the chat already. If you are listening to this on audio afterwards, I do apologize, like I say, but I am going to be trying to speak to the live chat as we go. Trenton Weeks says, Mbeumo and Cunha is huge for United. There we go. I'm going to pull him up on the screen as well. Aaron says, call me greedy, but we should ask for Kevin Shard's availability too. Top young striker. Corey, how are you doing, mate? Scott, we will follow you no matter what channel you're on, mate. Thank you very, very much, man. Great to meet you when we got to spend some time together previously. And I really appreciate the support. It's massively, massively appreciated. So stick with me if you are... if you're watching this on YouTube now, I'll maybe explain this for you. I did try and stream earlier on the old, or the current or the bigger Promised Land channel, because I thought that would probably be the best place for people to see it. But then I had some trouble with stream keys and all this kind of stuff, all this back end stuff. And I thought, why not? Let's just jump on this one and see if anybody's following. Vola producer says, didn't even realize this was the new channel. Look, honestly, I only set this up literally today, and in one episode earlier on, I dropped it at about 5 o'clock, I want to say, 5 o'clock Monday. And I said, I decided I'm going to make the jump. I'm going to try and move channels just because of problems like I've had this evening in live streaming. So I found this one it's probably the best move to do it now, and just to crack on with things like this. When things like this happen, I want to be able to come on, react live, and speak to you guys as well. It's just easier to do it on another channel rather than the old one that everybody is subscribed to. So if you're listening to this on audio afterwards, please subscribe to this new channel. The link will be in the description. And if you're watching live now, please subscribe to this channel if you've not done so already. I would really, really appreciate that. And the only place you'll be able to get this Mbeumo bit of news in video format anyway will be on this channel. But look, I can even do things like this now. I think I can even look to try and share my screen. Let's see. Here we go. Sharing screen. Let's bring it on. Add to stage. There we go. Fantastic stuff. I'm just going to mess around with all of this. And look, I'm going to read this out for you as we go. But right, Bryan Mbeumo wants to join Manchester United. Club set to open talks from David Ornstein. Bryan Mbeumo has decided he wants to join Manchester United, and the Old Trafford club is set to open talks with Brentford as they pursue an agreement to sign the forward this summer. Mbeumo, 25, has a year left on his contract with 12 months, a 12-month option that Brentford could extend and utilise. 20 goals in the Premier League last season and 8 assists, attracted interest from the likes of Arsenal, Newcastle, and Tottenham, but Mbeumo favours a switch to United if they can strike a deal with Brentford. And Thomas Frank he's been linked with Spurs over the last couple of days, but he has been talking about potentially selling Bryan Mbeumo, and he said if it's at the right price and it's going to be expensive, then I'm sure the club will open up to it. But he is the kind of player that Manchester United really should be going for. And it is a fantastic development to see that United are moving for a player like this. It is. Look, we've done loads of talking about the profiles of players that United have signed in the past and how they don't fit the system, and especially in this last few weeks and last few months under Ruben Amorim, obviously the system has been a massive concern to a lot of people. A lot of the players that are at Manchester United right now are not fit for it, simply put. And I've spoken about that multiple times on the podcast previously. This is a summer where United really need to get busy, really need to start renovating and, bringing players in that can play Premier League football that are up to the demands of playing Premier League football. And ideally that is by buying, proven Premier League players. And Bryan Mbeumo's had a really good season last year. He's been playing in the Premier League for a good few years now. And it is the kind of player that it kind of throws you back to the Sir Alex Ferguson days where United would pick off it was always like the best player in the Premier League, or like one that would really fit your Michael Carricks, your Rio Ferdinands, Wayne Rooney's, these types of players. Maybe Mbeumo doesn't exactly have, he goes under the radar a bit. Maybe he doesn't have the shine, the high profile that other players have that United have signed in the past. But I think maybe that's probably because he's playing for Brentford. They're very diligent, they work really hard, and he has really stood out in that team, especially since Ivan Toney has left the club. And he's been long after like a big move. And I'm really encouraged. And I'm one of very few people maybe on podcasts like this and in the YouTube space and wherever you find me, wherever you listen to me, on Twitter even. Maybe that's probably the best example of it, where I've been quite defensive of what Ineos have been doing. I've given them a lot of leeway. I've given them a lot of room. Only last week, or even on Saturday or Sunday, whenever the last podcast was that I did, I was talking about how the new transfer team have not really had their chance yet to fully embed in, and they deserve a chance. They've been tarred with a brush of, they didn't get everything wrong last summer. Of course they didn't. But they've been tarred with a brush of like transfer failures from people and schemes at the top of Manchester United, which they have nothing to do with. And one of the reasons why I've been so encouraged and retained that hope that United would be able to get back or start moving in the right direction, even if we weren't seeing it on the pitch, is because I think there's a plan. And it's because I think Manchester United have a group of people above the manager now. The manager, Ruben Amorim, or the head coach, sorry, since he's come in, is a choice of that unit of people. It is massively encouraging. You've got, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, Christopher Vivell, Ruben Amorim as well. And I think that they're looking at working together to do things the right way. We're not talking about Ed Woodward style transfers here. There's not enough gloss on this signing really for it to be like an Ed Woodward transfer. But what this is a signing. Look, United might not even do the deal yet. I'm pretty sure they will end up finding a deal with Brentford if Mbeumo has actually chosen United. And that will be for United to deal with and for United to strike a fee with Brentford. But this is a signing which is effective. This would be a signing which is Premier League proven and would probably lift the floor of this United team. And elevate the attack to, we know the attack needs to be elevated. We know the attack is poor. And we know that United really need to put some money behind this and some real attention on, you know, improving the attack this summer, because that has been what has let United down over the last couple of years. It is a very sensible approach. It's a I'm still really surprised. I've got to say, I'm really surprised that United have actually won this one just a day after announcing Mateus Cunha as well. It is massively positive, and it's massively positive for the summer ahead, because United need to get a move on. They really do, in terms of sales and in terms of incomings as well. Because when preseason is going to begin, Ruben Amorim, that he's spoken about how formative a period that will be for this United team, and he's going to need players who can play in the system that he wants to play. Mateus Cunha, I've spoken about him a good few times. Seemingly perfect fit for the left 10. He's done a really good season with Wolves. He's ready for a step up. He's got the personality, by the looks of it, to relish playing for Manchester United, and hopefully he can go and recreate what he's been doing at Wolves in a Manchester United shirt moving forward. But that right 10 has always been, will it be Ahmad's position? Where will Joshua Zirkzee fit into this? Is he going to be a rotation option? Will he leave the club in the summer? What you're getting here in Bryan Mbeumo is essentially another 10 who does a very, very similar job. I think they're different profiles of players, but he works really, really hard. Works really hard, gets a lot of goals, can go on either foot, left-footed obviously, but can just as easily go with his right. Really super impressive that United have. Now, I think the fact that there's a lot of people, according to my timeline, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that they're like, why has he chosen United? Well, that is a question that we have to ask. Why has he chosen United? What are United telling these players? Because that's two players now that Newcastle United have wanted. Newcastle are in the Champions League. Newcastle have proven over the last few years that they are trending in the right direction. They've got a really hardworking team. They've got a lot of players that they've got the best out of, perhaps more than the best out of. And they have a fantastic atmosphere, fantastic support. And they wanted Mateus Cunha. Mateus Cunha has joined Manchester United. They've wanted Bryan Mbeumo. He seems a perfect fit for Newcastle, but Bryan Mbeumo has decided that he wants to join Manchester United. It is the lure of bringing United back is still really, really strong. And Manchester United in a season where they finished 15th, played terrible football, finished trophyless. People honestly, some of the replies I get, Manchester United getting relegated next season. All of this, the money, all of the problems that hang over United. However, will they get out of this? They've got a manager that doesn't adapt to the team. Well, we've had so many managers adapt to the team in the past and ultimately end up failing because they haven't been able to get the best out of a team, even if they've adapted to them. What we've got now is it's a sea change for me. You look at last summer and you think, and obviously the mistake was that they kept Erik ten Hag, obviously, and I don't think you can dispute that. It was a decision that I think was muddled, because I think you look at the people that were there, and Dan Ashworth left in the November after Ten Hag had left and Amorim had been appointed. I think there was some disagreement in terms of which direction to go. I'm just speculating here, but from that point, I think United's plan has been pretty solid in terms of what they are looking to achieve. You've not seen it on the pitch yet. This summer is going to have to be absolutely massive in terms of them actually bringing things together, bringing players in order to put the plan that they envision in their heads, put that on the pitch. Ruben Amorim is going to need players that are dogged, that run, that really give a damn. All of this, that fit into his system, that can play Premier League football, that can win 1v1s. I'm sorry if you're listening to this podcast, and I've said things like this in the last few episodes of this podcast, so I'm just repeating myself here. But this is the message that needs to be driven home. United need to be physically better, technically better, and they need to sign players that fit that mold and fit in the system that Amorim wants to play. The attack was obviously a massive talking point and massively a or the area that needs to be improved. They definitely still need a striker as well, so we'll see how that develops. Liam Delap was obviously the one that they wanted. He's going to join Chelsea. I think everything's been done there for him. But it is, United. And what I said after losing out on Liam Delap, I think it was on Sunday or whenever it was, maybe to the back end of last week, maybe Thursday or something. Go and put that money that you'd earmark for Liam Delap into going to sign Bryan Mbeumo, because I think it makes a hell of a lot of sense. If you have that, what's this now? I think, how many goals did Cunha score last season? It was, so I'm just, was it 15? Cunha goals this season? 15. 20 goals from Bryan Mbeumo and 15 goals from Matheus Cunha, both in the Premier League, both for clubs that, aren't the biggest clubs in the league by any means. It is massively impressive, and it's a complete it's a complete sea change. It's a complete change from what United have done previously. They are looking at how their system works or doesn't work, and they are addressing the problem areas on the second day of the transfer window. And there's been a lot of complaints about United not doing enough and not acting quickly enough. The window opened yesterday. Cunha was announced within hours of the window. Like, they'd worked on that deal previously. They found an agreement with Wolves eventually after the season had finished, and they've announced him already. How quickly this one will be done, I'm not sure. But, United have to work with Brentford now. I'm sure Brentford will want this. They're that kind of club where they won't want to drag this out. I'm sure that they will look at trying to, find the right deal, because Brentford will need to reinvest this money as well. You only need to see that Mark Flecken's going and joining Eric Ten Hag's Bayer Leverkusen, and they're signing Kelleher from Liverpool, like straight off the back. So that is the way that Brentford will move. They'll want that money to kind of reinvest it, because Mbeumo is a big source of goals for them. They do have a certain way of doing things that has worked for them, and I'm sure they will continue with the kind of signings, good value signings that they've been finding over the last few years. But United need players. United need players now that are going to, it's plug and play, right? It's plug and play. It is make sure that you've done everything that you can to make sure that these players settle in pretty much straight away. United aren't playing Champions League next season. They're playing Premier League only. You've got people out there saying that United are going to finish 15th and that they're the worst. They are the worst team I've ever seen in my life. But if you add goals, I've spoken so many times about how United not scoring the first goal is massively to their detriment. They'll create some chances and then concede with their first shot against them. And that's happened so many times. I think it was like 37 or something like that. I'll just jump back to the comments a second. Trenton says, Scott, which striker would you want that's realistic? I'm still in the Gyökeres Osimhen camp personally. Especially if Bruno Fernandes is going to go. You're gonna need some kind of statement. And I don't really think there's a striker out there now that Delap is gone that fits that kind of young, undervalued mold. I think United saw an opportunity there. That's why they put them first. United will need to raise money, obviously, through sales, and that is going to be super important. I've spoken about that so many times over recent episodes. Super important. But I think, look, they're going to need to make... What they've done here is they've signed players of 24, 25, 26 years old with the first two signings that they're going to make this summer. Sign a player of 26, 27, 25 who can come in and, maybe they won't have played in the Premier League before, but if you've got players of the quality of Matheus Cunha feeding chances to them, the wing backs working well, cutbacks, opportunities, like balls shifted across the box for tap-ins, that kind of striker, I think, is what you're going to need, along with the physical ability to hold the ball up. We know we've seen Rasmus Højlund and talk of Rasmus Højlund over the evening. Inter in talks with Manchester United over a deal for Rasmus Højlund. How that turns out, I don't know. But that's what I would do personally. That's what I'd like to see. I think United might have to raise some money first. But what the good thing is here, if they're looking at trying to address those two 10 positions to start with, it takes a hell of a lot of the pressure off because they need players in other areas. I think the midfield's super important and centre forward is super important. But United, in terms of the goals that they conceded last year, they weren't actually shifting that many goals in the Premier League. 44 conceded in 38 games, which isn't terrible. It's made for a lot of boring matches where United would end up losing. But what it kind of suggested to me, I mean, you only had to watch United. We all know what the problem was. It was them actually putting the ball in the back of the net. That was the main problem. So that's what I would do. Just try and go and get some kind of established top goal scorer. I think Gyökeres will probably, if Arsenal don't go with Gyökeres, maybe he'll be available. I don't really see United beating Arsenal to a player like that at the moment, given the state that Arsenal are in terms of a good state, and they just need maybe that one final player to top it off and probably go for the title. But if they don't, if they go with a striker like Benjamin Sesko or something like that, then maybe United have a good chance. Um, the producer says Ineos aren't moving quickly, right? Exactly. Like the thing with the social media, how quick social media moves and how reactive social media is, it is, you know, things change so quickly, and you really forget, or people forget, you've got 3 months of this transfer window left. It's really important to get players in for the start of pre-season. But if you're doing your business early and then you can concentrate on selling players later, it is it'll work. I think that the main thing that I want to see is United get a team together that if they can build an 11 that is favoured, that Ruben Amorim can go with almost every week, really. They will need other players that fill in the gaps, and maybe some players will rotate. They like the best thing that United can do over the course of this season is find an 11 that actually works. Try and play it, avoid injuries, and work on playing the system that Ruben Amorim wants. That is high energy. That is physically demanding. It's wanting to get to the ball first before your opponent. It's that kind of football that I want to see out of United and that Ruben Amorim wants to see. But he's spoken about so many times how United aren't physically up to this. I think Mbeumo certainly is. Cunha himself has been branded lazy in certain cases, but I really think that he's got the stature to do it as well. And we've seen how he can carry the ball, and Mbeumo can definitely do that as well. So I think the two tens at United would be for super important. Let's have a look. Some more comments. Aaron says logically we should finalize midfielders, Edison and someone, Estupinian and Semedo for free before a striker. I'm not sure. It really depends on what happens with Bruno Fernandes, I think. It is we obviously still don't know yet, and he's still not made his decision as I record this, unless something has happened since I started recording, not that I've seen. But it is look, I personally think that centre forward position is super important, and that would be the one that I go with next. But it doesn't have to be completely staggered and in the same order. The fact that United had Liam Delap at the top of the list and wanted to get it done, but then pivoted really quickly to go in and get in Mbeumo now, they obviously the deal isn't done yet, but I think United are the team that's gonna go and get him now, given this story's come out. So it's, it doesn't have to be. Maybe it can be, if a player becomes available or, like, if they miss out on a target or something like that, I don't think the positions are super important in terms of the order that they come in. But like, if I was to pick one, I would definitely pick the centre forward first because it's at the end of the day, goals win games, and we've seen that Rasmus Højlund is probably going to end up leaving now. In terms of how, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see. Aaron again says, not to be negative, critics would say we've signed one season wonders in Cunha and Mbeumo. At the end of the day, there's so many critics of Manchester United at the moment that they just have to do what they think is best. And I think what is best is to go and build a team that can work for the coach and that can work for the coach after him if this coach doesn't work as well. Sign fit, physical, technical, talented, proven Premier League players. That's the point that I think we need to get to. And I wouldn't really call Cunha a one season wonder either. I think he's been to do that move for a while. Jalen says, "Not a bad way to end a Monday. 35 goals bought, and it's the 2nd of June." Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Jason says, "I'd go for Baleba. He will be expensive. If you can do it in installments, it will be worth it. Midfielder for the next 10 years." I'm completely with you there. I think Baleba is the kind of player that is going to he's the next Caicedo in the sense of, come from Brighton. I think they signed him after or around the time of selling Caicedo as well, and yeah, 29th of August 2023, they signed Baleba. A 5-year contract for 27,000,000, with a maximum of 3,000,000 in add-ons and a 15% sign clause. 21 years old, Baleba. I think he is the exact perfect type of player that United should look to get, but he will be massively he's going to be massively expensive. What I would like to see United eventually do at some point is so I definitely think that they have got to make sure that they're getting players who are ready for the Premier League now, but really, what United should be doing is snapping up players like that before Brighton do. Chelsea have started doing it. Maybe it's a big risk maybe to kind of bring players like that in from Lille and just putting them in straight away, given how different the Premier League is and how it takes a lot of getting used to and the pressure that comes from playing for Manchester United, this kind of thing. But if United get an established first 11 to start with and they work with that, I think what the next job will be for Christopher Bell is to identify, however pricey they are, cheap or pricey, identify the right talents to bring in to backfill that and to maybe succeed. Or if you have a first team of players that is of the right age, is delivering, you can concentrate then on buying the next era of players to come in from underneath. I think Baleba would be great. He will cost massive money this year if I were to go and get him. Are you following up there with that? Bruno Fernandes. It's a but we don't know what will happen there. But I've spoken a few times about Bruno Fernandes, probably too much by this point. But I I don't see where Bruno covers a lot of ground, but in terms of physical battles, I don't think he's the best player physically. Obviously, his numbers are fantastic, but he doesn't strike me really as either a perfect fit for one of the 10s, and now Manchester United have signed or will be signing 2 10s, one for the right, one for the left. And Mbeumo can obviously play up front as well. But Ruben Amorim's been playing him as a deeper midfielder. Bruno, is he disciplined enough to play in those midfield positions long term? We saw in the Europa League finally gave the ball away quite a lot and was really not, uh yeah, it wasn't his best performance. If this is like that's his last performance, competitive performance for Manchester United, then it'll be a bummer. But there's always those kind of concerns. What I think United will need in those positions is, I think Edison was mentioned just a bit earlier. I'm not entirely convinced on Edison personally, but we'll wait and see. That profile of player would certainly be good. I definitely want players who ball players that can carry the ball. There's obviously the Kobe Mainoo question as well, and what happens with him. He I would really like him to be able to fit into this team and fit into that midfield. Jury's out on that, obviously. Aka, you found me. Thanks very much for jumping on. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not done so, by the way, just yet. Aka says United have a keeper issue, don't they? Should be interesting. Absolutely. That's a super important point as well. I'm talking about strikers, this kind of thing, and midfielders. For me, I don't know what United are going to do and how high up the pecking order they're going to put this. They need a goalkeeper for me. Absolutely. Absolutely need a goalkeeper. What and I just have this kind of feeling that they'll end up getting Emi Martinez for some reason. I'm talking about proven Premier League players who have character and attitude. I'm not the biggest fan of Emi Martinez personally. We're just like a goalkeeper who is minimal fuss, who makes really good saves, who is physically imposing, that comes from corners and collects them, that kind of thing. But Martinez made the save that he made in the World Cup final and is that kind of player. And the way that he's developed since leaving Arsenal has been really, really interesting. I think he is the kind of player that I could maybe see United going for in terms of like if Bruno Fernandes leaves, what kind of characters are United gonna have in that team? You know, they're gonna need leaders, they're gonna need big personalities. Just like a goalkeeper that doesn't make mistakes. I do think Andre Onana for me, I think is massively important to replace this year. But anyway, Bryan Mbeumo is. Well, I pretty much said everything I can about him, but he scored 8, 9, and 9 goals respectively in Brentford's first 3 Premier League seasons. Still decent returns. He, he's just the type of player that I think United really should be targeting and really should be going after. So it's just a super important deal uh, for United to do. If they can do it, and maybe I'm seeing suggestions that Brentford want £60 million for him. They have obviously the option to trigger an extension in his contract, which could be problematic, given it gives them a lot of control. I really think United need to be getting this one for 50. Um, we know that they'll want to pay this in installments as well. I'm hoping that Brentford will be able to or willing to take that and deal with it and be fair about this. Um, maybe some add-ons in there as well. But United, seriously, they need to spend their money wisely this year and make sure that they have enough to cover a lot of proven positions. Hacker saying Ramsdale, um, not for me. Not for me personally. Although, like, in terms of big personalities and Premier League proven, I don't think United would end up doing it, but he maybe does fit those boxes. It's, not for me. I can't do it. I much prefer just go and get me some goalkeeper that I don't associate with mistakes and crazy moments. Anyway, um, look, I've been going for like half an hour or so, and obviously it's a big night for United. Obviously, this is a new channel as well, and I really appreciate those of you who have joined me. It is a completely different, yeah, good few subscribers over the course of the last half an hour or so. I really appreciate all of the support that you've given. Really appreciate you joining in. Jalen says, "I got your questions in. If you're still watching and you want some questions to be answered, please get your questions in." Jalen says, "Nice to see United shopping in the Prem again. Something we used to do on a regular basis, taking the better players in the league." Again, these guys are two players that are playing for clubs that are very well established in the Premier League at the moment, and they are their best players. They've proven that they can do it in the Premier League. It's a it's a solid approach. In terms of risk and this kind of thing, risk versus cost, it balances out quite well. So I'm quite encouraged by what United are doing so far, and I'm interested to see how they approach the remainder of the transfer window. Yeah, uh, super important developments in this. Well, second day of the transfer window. It's unbelievable. Second day of the transfer window, United are making moves like this, and just talking about how I put a tweet out earlier about a pull of Manchester United, and I didn't actually finish my point. I think maybe I'll say this before I go. Like, what are United saying to these players? Like, if you're questioning what the project is, and you're questioning, I'll come back to your question in a minute, Trenton. What are United saying to these players? They must be presenting them with something half decent. I've been really defending what Ineos have been doing just because of the differences behind the scenes. I like a lot of the signings that they've made so far. They've been very public about what they wanna do as well. This is not like any communication that you get from any of these people running this football club at the moment is, "We want to win the Premier League title." They're not gonna magically jump there, I don't think. Um, but what they need to do is make signings like this in order to get further up the table, get back into the Champions League, be a really solid Premier League outfit that you like watching, that you can trust will deliver, that you can trust will turn up. And signing, players like this who are desperate and, like, absolutely craving that step up to a club like this is a really, really good start. But what are they saying to these players? If you're not sure or you're not convinced by what Ineos have been doing, just think about, like, if you're having conversations like this and players are picking Manchester United over Newcastle, Arsenal potentially, like David Ornstein's mentioned that Arsenal were in this as well. Obviously, I think there's a different conversation there. Bukayo Saka's in the first team and isn't really getting shifted, and you've got Ethan Nwaneri as well. But he would have been a hell of a good fit at Arsenal, but maybe he's in a rotation role. I think with United, he's getting a starting berth the way things are going, and it is big promise for him. I don't think for me, I trust what they are trying to do. And if they're going into meetings with these players and they're saying, "This is where we want to get to," this isn't about like playing for man. Obviously, it is in a sense, but this is has to be about what the plan is, not this is Manchester United. Just come and join us, like other players have done in the past. I think it's reasons to be encouraged. Trenton says, "Do you think will have a problem selling Sancho, Anthony, and Rashford in this window?" Sancho, we should find out this week. Hopefully, Chelsea will end up taking him, but I know that they're in talks about Jamie Gittins from Dortmund, Hugo Ekitike as well. If they're looking at players like that, maybe they're going to send Sancho back. But I'm sure we'll find out in the next few days. Rashford, I think, will end up leaving. In terms of selling potentially, I think it's only really it depends what Barcelona want to do. I think he's holding out for that move. If they end up going for Luis Diaz instead, then I'm not entirely sure. But Anthony, ironically, Anthony would probably be the easiest one to sell from how he's performed over the last few months. So those loan deals really worked out in Anthony and Rashford's case. Well, Anthony's case specifically, anyway. The way that he performed has really elevated his value. But look, good night. To be fair, good start to the transfer window. Bryan Mbeumo joining. Provided United can strike a deal, Bryan Mbeumo will be joining Manchester United after Matheus Cunha was announced yesterday. So really good start. There's plenty more to do, obviously. Absolutely loads more to do. United really need to, get on it. I've spoken about them being proactive, and they need to be proactive, and they need to get things done, and they have started like a house on fire. So fingers crossed, we see more of the same. It is central midfield, centre forward, maybe depth in the wing back positions. They're probably okay for centre backs at the moment, maybe until next year. Even though I'd like to see, the team being able to be in or the back three being quicker than they currently are. That's what I'd like to see, but wait, goalkeeper, super important. Loads of Brentford to Spurs rumours would try and get Mbeumo squared away ASAP, says Hacker. Not entirely sure. Brentford to Spurs. Oh, yeah. I think I know what you mean now. Anyway, look, thanks for joining to the people who have joined. If you're just finding this video, please subscribe to this channel. And I'll be doing more lives on here. Obviously, the numbers will probably take a little while to pull through, but we will see how things go. It's just so much easier for me to stream here because I've used the streaming client. It's so much easier to bring your comments up onto the screen and just see things. That is the way that I'd like to do it moving forward. And really appreciate your support, guys. Big night for United. Good news. So see you soon, everyone. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you've not done so already. Subscribe to the Promised Land audio podcast as well if you've done so already. The Promised Land Manchester United podcast on all of the audio platforms, and great start to the transfer window for Manchester United. Thanks, Hacker, for the nice round of applause there as well. Really appreciate all the support you always give us, mate. And big thanks to everyone else who's watched as well. See you soon, everyone. This has been the Promised Land. Bye.